am live. I am reading the Awakening letters, and these are letters from the afterlife, varieties of spiritual experiences in the life after death. They're transmitted by Cynthia, Lady Cynthia Sandys. She and her friend Rosamond Lehman worked together for 30 years to bring through information. Both their daughters passed young and in tragic circumstances, and these daughters, Patricia and Sally, they're the ones transmitting these letters or these accounts. I'm in part 5, and this is mainly from Joe, these letters now. He is Lady Sandy's brother, called Joe. Tangiers in the war. It is extraordinary to come here after my experience at Bliss with Douglas, and now to jump a couple of dozen centuries and be here with Lorna again, here and getting the news of Douglas's death. It all make a sort of jumble in my mind that I find hard to sort out. But the two remain unchanged in their reality. Douglas and Lorna. Lorna supporting and Douglas passing like a meteor through my lives and leaving me. When I look at Tangier, I see it and all the people I knew and worked with. Some are over here and I've met them, others I haven't met so far. But over it all hangs anxiety. Can we ever hold out in Britain or in Tangier? Can I go on holding the strings with Spain? Will Spain let us down? One country after another have gone down like ninepins. France, my God, how I felt when I heard that France had defected. All my French blood revolted. I couldn't see France defeated, with a Maginot Line just sidetracked. It was all fantastic. My mind reeled and boggled at all the 1940 disasters, and now I look back and see the brilliant flash of Dowding's defence. By the way, I have met him again. A grand chap. In fact, we have looked at the history mode together. This is a most amazing thing to me. It seems that every event on Earth casts a reflection on a sensitive belt of substance in the ether, and we can, by looking at it, calculate the effect each event had upon the rest of the era. For instance, when I look at the frightful cataclysm in France in 1940, I see it all brilliantly illuminated by the Battle of Britain. I see the men who died in that fight continuing with their pals in the surviving planes and carrying them to victory. It was virtually won by those who died and crashed onto the land or into the sea and bounded out of their bodies into the surviving planes. Hugh showed me all this in fits of laughter, saying, if only I'd known this at the time. But instead I mourned for each man as though he had been my own son. That flash seared the soul of Hitler. It was a greater, more far-reaching success than we dared to hope for in Tangier. But how it heartened us. Do you remember listening each day to the numbers of planes forced down by our chaps? I began to take hope that we might survive, but there were many long years to battle through first. But my Lorna always said we should win. But you know how I trembled when I thought of England being virtually besieged? Oh, how well you stood by me in those awful days. It must have taken a lot out of you holding on for both of us. But you seem to have had a sort of prevision over many other things as well. I loved Tangier fundamentally, even when it was hot and the colony became too tiresome. We lived on each other's nerves. All this is now reflected in the ether belt. One morning I must tell you about the dogs. They are reflected in the ether belt, running in and out of our lives, absorbing so many disintegrating vibrations. In fact, and I tell it to you in all humility, the dogs were like mental disinfectants to the house. They always are, but during the war they outstripped themselves, and goodness knows what we should have done without them. I see now that dogs have a very special mission, and Maruka makes this plainer to me every day. We were both brought up on the west coast of Argyll, and know Iona well. Our favourite island was Skava. This is Cynthia writing about her and her brother. My next vision was of Iona. Here I became somehow in charge of the boat, or boats owned by the monks. It was a very simple life, and I suppose a hard life, but I was happy and secure. I remember being sent away with a great leader through the islands. It might have been St. Columba, but I don't think so. He was able to use several rays of thought power, and I was not always necessary to him for transportation. Sometimes he seemed to use levitation entirely, but at others he came to me for help, and we sailed together. I have only broken memories of these cruises, as we battled with the sea in a very small, roughly made boat. But I know that I never feared not making harbour if he was with me, nor was there one moment boredom with this man on board. He was gay and strong and full of laughter, and also full of interest. I knew he was expounding things which I couldn't understand then, but they stayed in my subconscious, and I'm gradually recalling them now. He was always stressing that power was deathless, and that something of great power had been created in the beginning of the world in Iona. He said we were very lucky to have made contact with this power, and it would always flow through us in the form of a magnetic current. Then, as he spoke, he would suddenly say, "Ah, we've hit one now. I shall not need your help today." And with that he was lifted out of the boat into the air and away towards the island of his destination, which we sailed slowly in his wake. I stopped this after these two letters because he's written quite a few. I hope you have a lovely bank holiday Monday the 4th.